Hi! Today I wanted to take some time to talk about some of the plants I've been ordering at this time. So it is currently January 2021. I have been spending the past few weeks looking through some of my favorite, some new, some old gardening books, gardening blogs, YouTube channels, social media. That's where I find a lot of my inspiration, and just kind of compiling all these resources together to come up with some plans for the garden in 2021. So, when I do this, I like to take my time and think about the plants I'm ordering. I usually keep them in my cart for a couple weeks before I decide to buy them. But now that I have ordered or placed some orders with a few different places, I'm just getting really excited to use these plants in the landscape and to see how they do. So I wanted to kind of bring these plants to the attention of others as well, and maybe bring them to a wider audience. A lot of them are native to the northeastern United States, which is where I'm currently gardening, and in my personal experience, now I've only lived in this area for 2 years, but I don't see these plants as often as I would like to, if at all. So I'll let you know if I've seen them in real life, if if they're commonly used in a landscape, especially a home residential landscape. I think it's a little bit different when you think about nature preserves or woodland trails, or maybe like a gardener's garden. So I've sourced these plants from 3 different locations. The first one is the Pollination from Bridgeton, New Jersey. They sell what I would consider to be wholesale plants at wholesale prices to the retail consumer. So I don't have a business license. I'm just a hobby gardener right now. I'm building my brand and business as we go along, but right now it's all in here. It's not official. So I was really impressed with the fact that each of these bare root plants, the cost of them is $3.50. Now I haven't seen the plants yet, so I don't know really how big they'll be, but I thought that was a great price point. Cultivate a large starting point specimen to really. So the Pollination, next Bagley Pond from Warner, New Hampshire, and lastly Prairie Moon Nursery from Winona, Minnesota. So they'll be mixed in. Honestly, those 3 sell a lot of the same specimens. There's lots of crossover, so it just kind of depends, the amount that I was wanting, if I want them in seed form or bare root form, and my budget in most cases. So let's start. I organize the plants by their bloom time, so the first bloomer I have is going to be in April, and then the last one should bloom all the way through September, and the flowers will persist after September as well. I say flowers with quotation marks because sometimes it's not actually the flower, maybe it's the seed head or something that adds interest to your garden. So the first plant is Zizia aurea. It blooms from April all the way through June. It's a host plant for the black swallowtail, and it does best in full sun but can tolerate light shade. So I'm going to look for a place where I can get it anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of sunlight per day. It is a short-lived perennial, so it will probably stay in the ground for 2 to 3 years, the roots that I am purchasing this year. However, its seeds do really well germinating under northeastern conditions. Again, I'm in the northeast of the United States, so we have cold winters and warm summers. So the seeds do well to germinate under those conditions where they have that cool period or like moist stratification, some places call it, and then they slowly warm up and germinate in the spring and summer months. And it is a perennial in zones 3 through 8. So again, this is one that I've just seen on social media. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, and the people that do talk about it are pretty excited about it and talk about how they would like to see it more places. So I'm looking forward to adding this to my landscape and becoming more experienced with it so I can spread the message as well. Next would be, let's see, that one was from April, Full Sun. Let's do the Lupinus perennis next. So this is a wild lupine, but it's a native species. So there are some cultivars, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Hybrid. There's a hybrid of the lupin, the wild lupin, that has a different species name. So this one is perennis, and it blooms May through July, and it's a host plant for the Carner blue butterfly. So I don't know if that butterfly will be one that I'll see immediately this year. I think the plants do need to be established, and that habitat kind of needs to be maintained for a while in order to attract this type of butterfly. But I'm just really looking forward to getting that patch going. I'm actually only getting one bare root of this plant, so I'll have one wild lupin that will bloom this year. However, I did order more seeds from Prairie Moon Nursery. That was just a more economical way for me to invest in this plant. So I'll have one for sure this year, and then hopefully I'll be able to grow some on for the coming seasons. And this plant, the wild lupin, really impacted me last year in June. I was driving through Vermont, and in more rural area of Vermont, and there were just all along the roads and people's front yards, they had these patches of wild lupin, and it was beautiful. So I think that will be a really good one to try out and gain some experience with. I did grow some of the hybrid lupins last year before I really knew about the native species, or that there was even a difference between the two. Okay, so May, that will start. The next one that starts in May as well is Penstemon hirsutus. I don't quite know. I think the variety name, oh no, that one's not Husker Red. Yeah, I think that's just a straight, I think that's maybe a native plant to northeastern US. It's going to bloom May through June. It has purple blooms. It's really light purple, if I'm not mistaken. And it will get 1 to 2 feet tall, and it grows zone 3 through 9. So this one I think will be great for pollinators. It has kind of those like funnel, really small flowers. So things like hummingbirds will be able to, they do well in there when they can stick their little beak in. So I'm hoping that will be a great pollinator attractor. A lot of these flowers I also would like to use for cutting and bringing in as arrangements. So that was one that I thought added a lot of aesthetic beauty that I can use inside as well. Okay, and then, oh no, I have 2 more for May. Next, Anemone canadensis, or Canadian anemone. It's going to bloom May through June. It has a white flower, and it spreads by rhizomes, which means that it can be a little bit more aggressive than ones that would spread by seed. But I'm really looking forward to that. I would love to have a huge patch of Anemone canadensis. It grows, it's hardy for zones 3 through 8 and does well in full to partial sun, and it's 12 inches high in its final form. Really looking forward to that one as well. I think I might test it more on the partial sun. I think that would be a really good one in a shaded little more of a shade garden. So that's what I'm going to try out, and I will let you know if that was actually a good spot for it or not. This one have had my eye on for a few seasons, but again, I haven't been able to grow it successfully in my garden. I have gotten some divisions, but I think that they didn't get enough water and they did not do so well by the end of the season. I don't know if they're going to come back. Maybe they will. It is a herbaceous perennial, so it does die back at the end of the season. This one is called Cimicifuga racemosa, or black cohosh. They just have this beautiful presence about them that I'm really looking forward to seeing in my garden. It'll bloom May through September, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same flower stalk that just persists throughout the season. Really graceful, wiry, tall, white blooming flower. Does well in partial sun to shade, so this one I'm definitely putting in my woodland garden. It's deer and rabbit resistant, and it's hardy to zone 4 through 8. Yeah. Alright, now getting into the summer months. So that first collection of flowers was really important to me because in my notes from last season, I noticed that I was missing blooms in May and early June. So I had some daffodils in April and the beginning of May, but there were some weeks at the end of May to early June where I didn't have anything to look forward to, where I wasn't having any color arriving in the space. So I think those would be great. Now I'm going to move on to plants that start blooming in June. Okay. Next up, the Latin name is Veronicastrum virginicum. It blooms June through August and does well in full to partial sun. So definitely try to get it 6 to 8 hours if I'm doing full sun. Grows 5 feet tall, zone 3 through 8. So this one, also known as Culver's root, I think will be great. I'm going to try to use it as a cut flower. We will see how that works, but I'm definitely going to put it in the back of the bed because it is so tall. This one I got from the pollination, so I'll have 5 bare root plants. I'm thinking of maybe splitting those up, doing 2 in one area and 3 in another because they have white blooms, and I'm going to try to create a moon garden this year, meaning I will be focusing on plants that have high contrast flowers and foliage. This one having white blooms will I'm going to put it against a fence and it'll contrast against that and it'll be great. But like I said, I also want to try it as a cut flower, so I'm going to put some plants in a cut flower border as well. Okay, Culver's root, great. Next, another Penstemon. This one is Penstemon digitalis. It's going to bloom June and July. Full to partial sun, 3 feet tall, zone 4 through 8. So again, this one is a nice, has really attractive blooms that I would like to use for cut flowers, and it's really light in color, so I think it will do well in a moon garden. And hopefully attract pollinators. So, but it's actually, the variety is Husker Red, so it's not pure white. It has like a little bit of a twist, so I think that's fun for a moon garden. Okay, and then after that I have Anaphalis margaritacea, or Pearly Everlasting. It blooms June through September, and this is the one I was talking about, like the flowers persist, but it might, I'm not even quite sure if like that fuzzy part is a flower. It might be like a seed head, leaves, different parts of a flower. I'm not totally well versed on. And they will persist, great for dried arrangements as well. It should get 2 feet tall and does well zone 2 through 7. So these ones I believe I got from Bagley Pond, and I ordered 2 plants just to slowly, you know, create a clump. A lot of these, the ones that aren't from the pollination, will just be 1 plant, and my hope is to add on to those as throughout the years. Okay, Did I do all of them? Oh, no. Last one. Liatris ligulystylis. Ligulystylis. Liatris ligulystylis. Liatris ligulystylis. Blooms August through September. So this is my latest bloomer, at least latest to start in August, but it should go for those 2 months. I think it might even go until frost, but I haven't grown it before, so I don't know. This one is they're also known as blazing star, Liatris blazing star. This one is, the common name is Rocky Mountain blazing star. So a lot of Liatris kind of look like a bottle brush. This one actually has buttons on it. They look like buttons to me. And it's purple. So again, this one is for the pollinators, but also I want to take a few stems and put them for arrangements. And I will have 5 of these, so I will have a lot to play around with. These ones I also think are going to be a beautiful landscape plant, so I could even add more just into borders where, you know, they're just there for the pollinators, not necessarily in the cutting garden. Alright, so those are my bare root plants. I'm going to update once the shipments come in with how the roots are looking and what the process is to get them from the packaging into the ground. I think it'll be different for each of these as well. Some of them I may pot up, some of them I may put in a nursery bed, some of them I may put directly into the border because I'm just so excited. We'll see. It depends on when I get them. I think the ones that I get earlier on in the spring, I will pot up, let them grow on and let the roots establish for a few weeks, maybe a month, before they actually go in their intended spot. All right, so thank you for listening to me babble on about plants. It's been pretty all-consuming for me. I just dream about plants and what I can do this next season. And hopefully introduced you to some new varieties that might be native to your area. A lot of these are native to the land of the United States. But like I said, because of European colonization and land use, they may be endangered or may not be as readily available in the natural landscape anymore. In the natural, but also like residential landscape anymore. Now we just have lawns. So one of my missions is to slowly kill the lawn and add in these plants. All right, thanks. I'll see you next time.